where you're from. We love to hear. There you go. We'd love to know which part of the world you're popping from, and let's kick off in another minute, and then we'll start right there. The traffic will pick up in a second or two. And I'm just gonna get the webinar running. One moment. All right. Alrighty. Yep. 30 seconds, we're gonna kick off. So hang tight. In. Alrighty, Miami. We love good old Miami. All right, everybody. We're gonna kick off now. Welcome on board, everyone. We've got a good buzzing set of individuals over here. Thank you so much for jumping on from different parts of the world. My name's Vaibhav, part of the Smart Lead team, and we've got Jesse Hernandez over here, all the way from sunny and cold Las Vegas. Jesse's got a fantastic background in email deliverability and cold emails. He runs Mail Genius, which I don't know how many millions of emails he's helped place with Deliverability, and now he's also got MX Suite, which is an email outbound platform hit to build and take over the primary inbox from the likes of Google and Outlook. So Jesse, mic's all over to you, my friend. Let's have you kick off.
Hello. Yeah, so today is not about talking about myself too much. I'm excited about MX Suite, but it's not about MX Suite. It's about helping everyone here improve their deliverability, improve their reply rate. The only thing I'm going to say is that when it comes to a lot of these outbound providers popping up, there's no right solution. You always need to test everything, and the success of your outbound is completely reliant on the quality of your data, and there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm excited to just provide as much value as I can today, and got a lot to cover.
All right, let's go.
Awesome. So today is going to be about mastering your email success. We're going to be going over a combination of strategies to improve your deliverability, get more replies, and continue to grow and scale. Now, super excited to share everything that I've learned over the last 6 years. This might feel intense. This might feel overwhelming. I encourage everyone to go on YouTube when the recording is uploaded and just take your time, pause, control the playback speed. It's going to be a lot. Super excited. And I want everyone to know, as we dive in, everything I'm going to be telling you, everything I'm going to be sharing is based on actual data and actual experience. So let's dive in. Our lead, I've been able to generate over 9,800 replies. I've been able to build an infrastructure, not the biggest, not the best, but it has about 172 mailboxes right now, has about 18 domains, be able to get 9,000 replies in 3 months instead of 7. So every slides is meant to help you achieve the same results, and everything is backed by data and experience. So when it comes to getting more replies, there's a lot of different factors that go into that. The 3 kind of things I'm going to do is your subject lines, your CTAs, and how you split test things. Now, when it comes to your subject lines, this is obvious stuff, but I notice a lot of times companies or businesses aren't really doing it. So for me, again, my data, my experience, I always think less, this is personally off of the campaigns I've done, less is more when it comes to subject line, less is more when it comes to copy. Attention and time is you have to optimize everything. Every second and every word matters. So typically when it comes to B2B subject lines, I'm keeping my stuff very, very short. It's going to be like company name, email. So if I was like an e-commerce agency going after e-commerce businesses, I would literally have a super short subject line. It's going to be company name. It's going to be company name, email. It's going to be email for company name, email marketing. I'm always going to use either B2B. I'm going to use the company name or first name. And then I'm going to use somewhere between 2 to 5 words max. I don't have any other subject lines that are more than 5 words typically. And also, like, I analyze every single reply I get to use the words that my prospects use, that my leads use into my subject lines. And then in my current systems, I use about 30 to 35 rotating subject lines with spin tax. So I try to make sure that as many emails as possible have a unique subject line with personalization. And then again, use subject lines that encourage you to open up the email. Keep it curious, keep it short. The point of the email is to get the open, nothing more, nothing less. I notice a lot of times subject lines are just too long. They're unclear. They're not direct. They're not concise. The goal of the subject line is simply to get the person to say, what is this? Click it. And then you have a few seconds to really deliver on providing value. Now, when it comes to CTAs, another thing I see is that a lot of businesses sometimes are asking multiple questions or asking the person to do several things. I typically, on 99% of all of my emails, I have one question and one thing I want the person to do. Anytime you add more, you're taking away from your response rate, you're taking away from your conversions, and you're expecting the person to do multiple things, which makes them do nothing. I also think when it comes to CTAs, you need to try different things. You need to try different offers and different questions. So like, for example, you could ask qualifying questions. So if there was a job application platform and you help people get interviews, you could ask them, qualifying questions. You don't have to pitch anything, but the goal is to get the reply. So you would say, are you job seeking? Are you looking for new opportunities? Or you can combine with an offer, maybe in the second email after you ask them, if they didn't answer, you could say, would you like 100 applications to try it out yourself? So you can combine CTAs with offers. You can ask different questions. I definitely have a lot of spin tax. I have a lot of different CTAs, and I have a lot of different styles. But again, when it comes to CTAs, I look at my prospects' replies and I try, depending on the positive replies, I use the same language they use to respond to me in my CTAs. I try to leverage as much conversational copy as I can. And a big thing when it comes to email, especially deliverability and engagement, a lot of people, there's no point in offering any service or anything before you actually qualify. Like, nothing is relevant to someone unless you actually qualify that the timing is right, that the positioning is right, that they're even interested in what you have to offer. So it's very, very important. I focus for all my systems. I just want to get a reply. I just want to get some qualification. And then I really focus on doing a good job. Once they respond positively, it's all about the follow-ups and the engagement. And then when it comes to A/B testing, I'm playing around with where my CTAs are. I'm playing around with the length of my CTAs. I'm playing around with the position. So it's like, sometimes I'll put a CTA directly. It'll be, hi, Jesse. And then it'll go straight into my follow-up emails typically are be, hi, Jesse, would you like 100 free applications to try it out yourself? And it's threaded. It's literally one question email, a few words. A lot of my emails like that are spread out with just one singular question, super short. I try at the top, I try in the middle. I try to keep all my copy one line for readability, and I try to keep it pretty short. And then again, pay attention to your data to learn when you're actually getting positive responses. What are the best times for you to increase your engagement? And then these are just simple best practices. This is just, again, a lot of this is common sense, but I've done this at scale for the last been doing outbound for maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 years now, and been doing email for almost 7 years. So yeah, basically, obviously for G Suite, make sure you have your photos. I've had a lot more success sending from females than males, may increase your reply rates. And then find opportunities when it's possible to add some extra social proof. This could be in your signature, but sometimes it's not great because things can get fingerprinted, but you do want people to some extent to know that you're a real person, and you need to find opportunities when and how to let them connect with you and engage on a more personal level. And then when it comes to reply rate, how do you increase your replies? So you pay attention to your base reply rate. If your base reply rate is low, you're not getting replies on your sequence. You need to pay attention to your data. You need to pay attention to your personalization on that data. You need to increase your spin tax so all your emails are unique. You also need to look at the quality of your data too and see what's going on. If your reply rate's too low, it's a combination of different factors. It could be deliverability. People aren't getting your emails. It could be that your offer isn't great. It could be that your data isn't high quality, not high intent. It's not qualified. Or it could be that maybe like strategy and copy. Maybe it's like you need a better offer, more spin tax, better copy. You got to figure out what it is, but there's a few different root causes that it could be. If you're not getting positive replies, you don't have an irresistible offer. That's been the number one thing. I have over 75% positive reply rate across thousands and thousands of emails. And that's because I have something that you would never say no to it. I mean, most people, I make sure that the data I have is high quality, high intent, and I'm asking them a question that 90%, I mean, I guess 75%, but probably 80% plus as I scale are going to say yes to. That's been a huge part of my success. And then when it comes to sales, just because someone expresses interest does not mean there's any likelihood that they're going to close. Sometimes they go cold, sometimes they don't reply. So what I'm working on now for my system is I get a lot of replies, but I'm basically bucketing in sure I'm going to follow up with everyone a million times to get them over the finish line. That's like a big thing. And Smart Lead has a great job of doing re-engagement campaigns and subsequences to kind of scale and automate that. And then again, like if your reply rate isn't where it needs to be, just focus on getting the reply. If you're not getting replies, just focus on qualifying and getting the reply first. A lot of times companies can offer anything, but it has to be valuable. So it's like a valuable email would be, again, if I have an e-commerce agency and I'm going after e-commerce companies, I'm not gonna ask them for their time. I'm not gonna ask them for anything. I'm going to say, I'm just going to put their company name in the subject line, put email, and then I'm actually going to do some work. I'm going to take a look at their company. I'm going to look at their SPF. I'm going to look at their DKIM. I'm going to look at their DMARC. I'm going to subscribe as a subscriber. I'm going to see their flows. And then I'm going to send an email with actual value. Hey, I noticed your welcome email was going to the promo tab. If you can optimize your flows to go to the primary tab, you can increase your open rates by 10 to 15% and click rates by 1 to 3. Want to learn more? Like give them actionable feedback based off actual experience. Like if you want people to reply, well, you have to take some time on your end to actually provide value. And value isn't talking. Value is actually analyzing and looking at things and giving them something that they didn't have before. It's really, really important that if they never reply to your email, you've given them some value and they're in a better off place. And even if they don't reply today, they're going to have your email. They're going to remember you. They're probably going to reply in the future. And this type of tactic, it's really, really important to figure out how can your prospect be better off after you send the email if they never ever reply. That's kind of how I define value. And then what I've been able to do, I've had thousands of replies. I actually exported everything from Smart Lead, and I pay attention to what time are people replying. This is just from one sequence, and what days are people replying. I'm trying to understand like what are the best times for me to send emails based on day and based on time. So I was able to just export everything on Smart Lead, clean up the data, and I'm sure that someday this will be like a built-in thing, but this is important. You need to pay attention to the best sending times and the best days to send because it's different. And yeah, it's just super, super important there. You need to know, and everything is different. Everyone's data is going to be completely different in terms of when you get replies, when to send emails, how much to open up your window. It's completely dynamic and it's important to adjust accordingly. And then I'm going to dive into improving your deliverability. So I created the WARP method, which is workflow, authentication, reputation, and performance. And I want everyone to think of email deliverability like driving a car. It doesn't matter what type of car you have if you don't know how to drive it. This is super, super important. If you're not a good driver, you're going to get accidents, you're going to get tickets, you're going to pay a lot for insurance, and it's going to be really, really difficult for you to get from point A to B. And email deliverability is the exact same way. Obviously, it's a little more complex. But again, if you're getting a bunch of spam complaints, if you're getting a bunch of negative engagement bounces, you won't be able to reach the inbox. And it doesn't matter how good your data is, doesn't matter how good your spin tax is, doesn't matter how good your offer is. If your infrastructure is not optimized to reach the inbox, that's been my primary focus. I focused on deliverability and infrastructure first, and then I learned strategy, copy, offers, all the rest after. And that's probably been one of the biggest reasons I've been successful and been able to scale. So I'm going to dive into basically all these components. Workflow is how you drive your car. So I'm just going to go quick, but pay attention to your data, quality, intent. If you don't have good data and it's not high quality and it's not intent-based, you can't have a success. It's going to be very, very difficult to have a successful outbound campaign that meets your goals. I only send to valid emails. I know some people do catch-alls, whatever. I'm super strict. My bounce rate is less than, it's extremely low, 0.010. It's like, my delivery rate's 99.98 or something. And I'm going to be scaling to about 500,000 emails a month. So I'm just super strict. Nothing matters if your infrastructure isn't optimized. And I think the more serious you take your infrastructure, everything else will continue to perform. And you need to optimize your sending volume without having a bunch of big dips and peaks. This is really important because you have to send consistently, and you want to send a consistent volume, and you want to progressively ramp up. You don't want to have like consistent volume or a big spike and then not send for a few days. Like as I ramp up things, I send a lower volume and I progressively ramp up week after week after week after week, and I'm monitoring everything. But I don't have dips where I'm just not going to send any emails for a week or two. I want the email providers, I want everyone to know that I'm a consistent sender, and I want my engagement to be consistent. And then when it comes to workflow, pay attention to your bounces, pay attention to what type, pay attention to the cause. This is giving you information on your infrastructure. Make sure users can unsub easily. Definitely now with Google sender guidelines, use an unsub disclaimer. I try to make it value-based. Like it'd be something like, if you're the e-commerce agency, we're dedicated to helping you increase your email revenue by 5x. However, if you're not looking to improve your revenue, or if you're not looking to increase your revenue with email, please let me know. And then let me know would be the unsub. I never do if I'm going to do an unsub disclaimer, which I do now because of the Google sender guidelines, I want them to know what my value prop is, how I provide value, what's the benefit to them. And then I want to say something like, please let us know. I don't use the word unsub or unsubscribe in my unsubs. And that's on purpose too, because again, like unsub is more associated with marketing emails, and Gmail is very intelligent with how emails are routed based on the words in your email. And then, yeah, just make sure you use spin tags, make sure you use fallback variables, make sure you use personalization. And the more segmented your data, the better things will perform. When it comes to authentication, this is straightforward, but this is your driver's license, your insurance, your registration. This is more of a one-time thing. You know, once you get a new car, you go in, get everything taken care of. And if this is set up properly the first time, you should be good. BIMI is an extra layer of email authentication, which is mainly for your main domain to make sure your image displays. And this is something that Google is going to prefer over time. And then reverse DNS is something that's automatically set up on most infrastructures. But if you have a dedicated IP, you need to make sure that your A records and everything lines up. Sometimes I've seen clients just not configure their dedicated IPs correctly, and that's really bad for deliverability. And then reputation is your driving record. If you don't, you need to pay attention to your actual reputation. Run inboxing tests. Are your emails going to inbox? Are they going to spam? Are any of your IPs or domains blacklisted? Are any of your IPs or domain reps, are they dipping? Are they going down? Check your IP reputations on Cisco Talos. Like, pay attention. What does it say when it comes to email reputation? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it poor? And then when it comes to performance, this is your maintenance of your car. Like, what good is your email, or what good is your car if it just breaks down on you? It's like you can't actually guarantee that you can get from point A to B if your car is breaking down. So you need to take care of things, and that's important. You need to pay attention to your metrics. How many sales are you getting? I don't pay attention to open and click rate, but if you do, open rate can give you some metric of if your emails are getting delivered or your subject lines are compelling. Click rate will give you some metric on if you have some compelling links and people are interested in what you're offering. I don't use open rate. I don't use click rate. Delivery rate is going to tell you the overall quality of your data and your infrastructure. And then reply rate's pretty straightforward. I mean, you need to pay attention to how many positive replies you're getting compared to your total replies. And then bounce, block rate, and spam rate and unsub are all related to negative engagement, right? Are you getting a bunch of blocks? Are you getting a bunch of bounces? Are you getting a bunch of spam complaints? Are you getting a bunch of unsubs? These are negative engagement. This is all negative engagement. So you need to get exponentially more opens, clicks, and replies than blocks, bounces, and spam complaints and unsubs. That's like a firm thing in my infrastructure and how I design. I do use aggressive. I'm probably one of the most aggressive email warmers because I believe that the only way to offset spam complaints and stay in the inbox is to have so much positive engagement that your spam rate always remains compliant. Now, this is a big one. I want to show you guys how I design an outbound infrastructure. And in order to do that, we start with a bunch of questions. How many sales do you want per month, per quarter? What's your close rate from your warm leads? How many positive replies are you getting? How many replies are you getting in general? And how many emails do you need to send? So this is just, I'm going to go through an example. This is not a perfect example, but this is giving you guys an idea of how to think. So one thing you would know is how many sales do I want? So if I want 100 sales per quarter, what's my close rate? 20%. Okay. So that means I would need 500 meetings or 500 warm leads. And in order to get 500 warm leads or meetings, I would need a 30% positive reply rate. In order to get that, I would need 1,668 total replies with the 5% reply rate. Now, obviously, more replies you get, the higher your reply rate or the higher your positive reply rate, the simpler your infrastructure can be. You don't need as many domains. You don't need as many mailboxes. It's important because you want to send less emails first and focus on getting the highest reply rate and then scale horizontally. Like, I do have a pretty robust setup, but I'm trying to send the least amount of emails that I can to get the most amount of replies, because less emails means less chance for spam complaints, less, like, I want to optimize everything. And in order to get 1,668 replies, you would need to send 33,000 emails per quarter. You need to send 11,000 emails per month. You need to send 2,780 emails per week, or 560 emails per day. So in order to break down that 556 emails per day, you would need 14 mailboxes, sending 40 emails per mailbox, give or take. I have a more robust setup than this, and I do things a little bit different, but I'm just giving like high level best practices. And then 7 domains, like roughly you need a few domains. I recommend a minimum of two mailboxes per domain, but I personally think somewhere between 3 to 5 is good. And even if you have 2 mailboxes that are not active, but they're just being warmed and they just have a positive engagement, that's okay, because the more mailboxes you have with the more positive engagement, even if you're not sending outbound from them, this is okay because you're going to get more positive engagement. You're going to reduce and offset your spam rate. So, I mean, it could be a good idea to have two primary mailboxes and maybe an extra one or two or three that are just sitting there warming in the background so that you're getting more volume, more positive engagement. And also it gives you a fallback. If for some reason one or two of those main mailboxes start going to spam or you run into an issue, you can always rotate mailboxes. I personally use somewhere between 3 to 5 or more mailboxes per domain, but I try to split everything as much as I can. I think like 2 or 3 is a pretty solid number. And then definitely you need to pay attention when I design an infrastructure. What type of mailbox providers am I emailing? Is it majority Google? Is it majority Office? Is it filters and firewalls? I only design an infrastructure based on the percentage of mailbox providers that I'm emailing. So everything is designed with who I'm emailing in mind. I've been really focused on Gmail, G Suite. I've had really good deliverability to them. So a lot of the best practices I'm sharing, it's worked really well for me for the last 2 years. Yeah, again, 2 to 5 mailboxes per domain. You could send 40 to 50 emails a day per mailbox. Again, like the higher the reply rate, the higher the positive replies. You can send less. I mean, less is always more when it comes to maintaining your infrastructure, staying in the inbox. And then SMTP providers, this could be SendGrid, proprietary infrastructure. I scale them up to about 220 emails per day, but I have about 3 to 5, 5 to 10 mailboxes on some domains. So I can send, I'm working on scaling to send. And again, this is different for everyone. I'm not suggesting this for everyone, but I've been able to scale to about 1,000 or 2,000 emails a day per domain. But again, this is only because of high quality, high intent data, lots of spin tags, super short copy, pretty good offer. There's a lot of things that make the campaign that I have successful. And I did design the entire infrastructure, kind of reverse engineered it like I'm showing you guys today. And then once you understand how many sales you need, how many emails you need to send, that's fine, but you actually need to pay attention to what does that look like over the next 90 days? How many emails do I need to send? Obviously, if you get new domains, you can't send immediately. You need to wait at least typically 10 days minimum. 2 weeks is better. Just follow the smart lead warming guidelines and don't start sending immediately. It's not a good idea because you can immediately kind of tarnish your reputation and make things harder. And then obviously, once things are warmed up, import your mailbox, start warming immediately. And the more engagement you have, opens, clicks, and replies, the better your deliverability will be. And continue to optimize your infrastructure based on your data. You need to monitor your delivery rate, your bounce rate. If things are spiking and things are heading in the wrong direction, you cannot keep sending the same volume. You need to be proactive and you need to be reactive. But proactive is much better because you're always paying attention to things, you're always monitoring things, and you're not scaling up if things don't look good. If you have a spike in bounce rates or you have a spike in spam rate, something's going on. You need to fix the issue. Otherwise, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to end up in spam. So this is kind of how I design an outbound infrastructure. And if you follow all these steps, you can scale with sales. And this is just an example of like just the back end of how I monitor stuff. I create an email volume chart on the right side there. I pay attention to how many emails I need to send across the entire infrastructure, and then I ramp it up progressively. And then on the left, I'm paying attention to KPIs, kind of like what I was showing you guys. How many emails do I send? How many replies can I estimate? How many positive replies am I getting? How many new opt-ins am I getting? And how many of those become actual customers? So I'm paying attention to my KPIs, I'm paying attention to my results, and I'm optimizing everything. But I do everything needs to be measurable. Everything needs to be mathematical. You can't actually know what you need to do unless you map it all out. So before I built any of this system, I built my email volume chart. I built everything first and then kind of mapped things out in my head. And then I actually focused on obviously setting up everything, getting everything warmed. Definitely a pretty robust setup, but this is a good setup to properly scale, properly monitor things. And you can actually see week by week if something went wrong. Maybe you're sending too much emails. Maybe there's an issue that needs to be, fixed. And before I dive into the next slide, we're kind of going to talk about Google Postmaster, things like that. We wanted to do a quick poll and get everyone's feedback.
That is right. Jesse's got it covered. Love it. So everyone, your screen's gonna be built with a tiny little pop-up that's gonna show up with a poll. So please feel free to answer that. The quicker you answer it, the better it'll make it for everyone else. Alrighty. We'll get to see the answers on the polls very, very quickly. pop. In the meantime, Jesse, we've got tons and tons of questions popping in over there. So we'll take a few minutes, depending on how time goes, to answer some of those. But in a situation you don't, like I said, we'll always have them answered in our Slack channel. As well, for those who haven't joined, please feel free to join and drop your questions there. And Jesse and myself will do our best to answer it as time permits. Cool. Jesse, you're open to kicking off again, sir?
Cool.
Oh, just 1 second. 20 more seconds for the poll.
Yeah, okay.
All right, all good. We'll close it in another 15 seconds. All right. Oh, wow. All over the place. All over the place. All right. That's interesting. That's always
cool.
Good insights. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Jesse, on to you.
Sweet. So a lot of things are changing with Google. Right now, obviously, they're saying that if you send 5,000 more messages a day to Gmail accounts, you need to make sure your emails are authenticated. You need to make it easy for your users to unsubscribe. You need a list unsubscribe header. And you also need to set up and monitor your Google Postmaster. So in order to see data from Google Postmaster, you typically need to send at least 500 plus emails a day. You can easily do that if you have different type of warming providers, or you have different things that you can use. I have, like I said, I have very aggressive warming. To give you guys an idea, I'm sending on a few of my platforms, I send 20 to 25,000 warming emails a day. On MX Suite, we can send up to 100,000 warming emails a day. Might sound a little crazy, might sound a little eccentric, but I would say that it's better to prepare for the worst. I'm assuming that these Google Sender guidelines will, at some point, as we get closer to the summer, will be applied to everyone on B2B, on the B2B side. I'm preparing for the worst so that if this impact hits everyone, are you actually prepared for it? So the biggest metric, or the most important part of this slide, is that Google says you can get 1 email out of 1,000 marked as spam. And if you get 3 emails marked as spam out of 1,000, you're not going to be compliant and you're going to run into issues. And again, this is for B2C today, but I'm assuming it's for B2B tomorrow. And what that means is, like, it's very, very difficult to get only 1 in 1,000 emails marked as spam, especially in the B2B space. So my best recommendation for everyone, again, I pretty much have come to the conclusion that the only way to offset your spam rate and keep your spam rate low and remain compliant no matter what is to essentially send almost 1,000x. Again, sounds crazy, but 1,000x warming volume, positive opens, clicks, and replies, so that even as you scale and that even as you send emails, if your spam rate is even 10x this, if it's 1%, so you're getting 10 emails, or even if it's 2%, 20 emails out of 1,000, you would have enough warming volume that you would still remain compliant and you would still remain under the 0.1. That's my solution. I'm preparing for the worst. I want to know that even if Google said tomorrow we're implementing these changes across B2B, I still have a robust infrastructure to keep me going, keep my in-bills in the inbox, and always offset my spam complaint. And I want to stay off Google's radar. So that's been my solution. Again, everyone needs to test and see what works for them. But my goal is to scale, with what I'm doing. I'm planning to get closer to 500,000 emails, and I'm trying to generate about 5 to 6,000 replies a month. And I think it's completely possible. It's completely doable with Smart Lead. It's been a dream solution for me. I've tried Outreach, I've tried SalesLoft, I've used every platform. Smart Lead has been by far the most cost-effective, affordable, and robust system from a deliverability perspective that I've ever used. So it's been great. A lot of my success wouldn't be possible without Smart Lead. So just want to make that clear. I've tested everything. And when it comes to domain reputation, IP reputation, and spam rate, these are just things that are important. So domain reputation is kind of telling you from Google, how does your history look? Do you have a good driving record? Like, are you getting more opens? Are you getting more clicks? You need positive engagement. So I try to make sure before I send any emails, I make sure I have a high domain rep on every single domain. And if I don't, I need to send more warming volume to get data to populate. And if I have a medium domain rep, I stop sending until I repair it to a high domain rep. IP rep, super important for me, at least. I pay attention to the quality of my IPs, and I want Google to tell me it's good. If Google's not saying it's good, then it's not good. And again, for me, 80% of my data is G Suite and or Google. So I don't care about anything else as much. I care about making sure that every day I reach the inbox to Gmail or G Suite. And then spam rate, again, just paying attention to how many people are marking your spam divided by the total emails you send. So yeah, Google Postmaster, you need to start sending somewhere around 500 emails per domain. You need to verify it. I use different warming providers and different things to make sure that volume stays up. And then I start seeing data within 1 to 3 days, typically.
Beautiful,
And
mate.
do we want to do the next poll now?
Yeah, we'll do the next poll right now. Swap, if you don't mind dropping the next poll over here before we carry on. All right, let's go. Lovely, lovely. So while we're just answering and waiting for the poll to go through, Jesse, I think it'll be a great opportunity to, I know we're not doing a pitch over here, but a very, very quick, maybe, 30-second, what exactly is MX Suite compared to, Inframail and everything else in the market? I think that's been one of the common questions everyone's dropping in the comments. So if you don't mind, while the poll is being done, to just answer that question.
Sure. So the difference with MX Suite and the different providers is our extensive experience with infrastructure, our extensive experience with deliverability, and most of the providers out there, they're talking about setting up a dedicated IP. That's not the right setup for cold email unless you have, I do have a dedicated IP and I have been able to make it work, but that is not a guaranteed success. If anything, like you have a dedicated IP, you need to understand how to maximize your IP reputation. And unless you have experience with aggressive warming, unless you have experience with deliverability, a lot of the providers, they say that a dedicated IP will work great. Not necessarily true. So the purpose or the reason I created MX Suite is to have an alternative solution to G Suite, Zoho. It's definitely more expensive, but what you're paying for is aggressive warming. So we can scale up to 100,000 warming emails a day, and it's relatively cost effective. And the point of that is if Gmail rolls out the new sender guidelines to B2B tomorrow, you're not going to get shut down. Your account's not going to get suspended. You're going to reduce the chances of getting blocked, and you're going to keep breaching the inbox. Now, I'm not going to promise deliverability for anyone. A lot of the providers say 99% deliverability. Completely
Yeah.
false. You could use
Yeah.
MX Suite and you can get 0% deliverability. If your data sucks, if your copy's not good, if you don't have spin tax, you need to follow every best practice I went over, and you need to be good at outbound. If you're not good at outbound, it's like, it doesn't matter what provider you're going to use. If you're getting way too many spam complaints, it's like, it's going to be difficult. But I would say, even if you're not the greatest sender, we can offset it with positive engagement. That's the best thing we can do to keep you in the inbox, but nothing's guaranteed. I just recommend everyone try it, test it, and see how it works for you.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Thank you for that. Because that's the one pet peeve I have with the providers when they say 9 out of 10. I'm like, how you can't guarantee 9 out of 10 emails landing. There's no way you have the data to back
Nope.
that up. Awesome. This is great. Cool. If you got anything else to carry on, Jesse, you can click off with that. Yep.
Super quick. Yeah. So this is just an example of my domain reps coming up from medium to high. This is an example of my IP reps, and then over 160 mailboxes plus have a 99 to 100% rep on Smart Lead. So everything's working smoothly. And then, yes, everyone, if you need to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's just Jesse J. Hernandez. You can shoot me an email. And then I think MX Suite is positioned best for agencies or companies who have a lot of domains, a lot of mailboxes. We have a similar setup. You can put in your domain, you can create a bunch of mailboxes instantly, and you can monitor and see your warming volume. But again, like, I only want to work with the best. I don't want to promise or over deliver anything. Definitely, I can tell you immediately if you're going to have success just by understanding your company, your business, your outbound strategy, your data. Nothing is promised in this space. I think a lot of people promise and they under deliver. Again, everything depends on your data, your strategy, your workflow, your authentication, your reputation, your performance. Success is not guaranteed in the space, and constant optimization. I didn't get to this point. When I first started, I had a 2% reply rate, and then I realized my copy sucked, and it took me many, many years to be able to build these scalable outbound systems. Lots of optimization on the data, lots of optimization on the strategy, the copy, and just leveraging as much features that Smart Lead has been crucial. I use as much as I can, more spin tax, more variations. I try to use subsequences. I try to leverage automation. I try to just use everything I can to help me perform better. And again, it's always learning. Just always be learning in this space. You don't know anything. You always need to keep learning because things are evolving and changing. And I'm starting to watch more videos, and I'm trying to just stay as updated as I can. I do know a lot, but I still know nothing. And I want that to be clear. This space, what happens today is not guaranteed tomorrow, and it's definitely not guaranteed over the next year.
I completely agree with you on that. While I guess we've got the open mic over here. So we'll answer maybe 2-3 questions just because of time. But one important question you mentioned, obviously learning is an important part. Where do you pick up stuff from? Is it LinkedIn? Is it blogs? If you don't mind, because I'm curious myself.
Well, to be honest, I've just been so focused on building I was just diving into yesterday, just a smart lead, watching some of the previous office hours, just learning from other
Okay,
people. It's really interesting to see what they've seen. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Yeah, basically your blog and your YouTube has been helpful for
awesome,
me.
great, easy. Appreciate that. Thanks, man. So there's a question over here. Is 5,000 emails per IP? We have multiple clients who send about 1K per day, so far below the window, but we do have multiple clients. What's your thought with respect to, is it 5,000 emails per IP, or is it 5,000 emails per domain, per workspace for the Google
Yeah.
issue?
Yeah. So for me, I always work backwards with how I design something. So I don't focus on the volume. I focus on my data. Like I need to know what is my spam rate. I need to make sure that my spam rate is going to be offset with positive engagement. And then when it comes to
Okay.
IPs and how you split them or design them, I highly recommend using a minimum of 3 to 5 providers. The whole point of Smart Lead is that you can test
Okay.
everything and then you follow the data. I wouldn't just rely on one.
Sure. Okay. Makes sense. That's completely fair. Thank you for that. Now, what about your recommendation in case of when you're speaking about warming up and warming up systems, do you have a certain bias in perspective to new domains versus domains that were in previous warm-up systems that you push them back?
I look at email warming as insurance. It's something you need as long as you have a car. So there's no point ever where you don't want more opens, clicks, and replies. It's the same thing with your driving record. You would want as long as a driving record as you can have with no accidents and a clean record. So for me, again, I have warming. I'm using warming to offset spam complaints. I'm using it to repair domain rep. I'm definitely aggressive email warming. That's been a crucial part of my success,
Okay, cool.
no matter
Awesome.
what.
Yeah, fair enough. So everybody, this video is recorded. We need to jump off another call. If you have questions, drop it in the Slack channel. We're opening a separate thread just for this. Jesse, there's a bunch of people who want to work with you. They'll reach out to you directly on Slack. But otherwise, thank you for these questions. They'll all be answered in the Slack channel. There'll be a thread that's pushed up over there in the office hours. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you so much. And I'll actually catch you for dinner very soon. Have a good day, everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Let's go. Thank you guys. Bye.
It's office hours, Josh.